Alright guys, so welcome to another episode. So we're going to take a look at the clean out of the car and some of the treasures we found inside. Had a pretty good day cleaning it out. Kids worked really hard. We ended up taking out over about 3 35-gallon barrels of trash, mouse nest, everything from the interior and interior stuff that had fallen apart. So quite a lot of volume in what was in there. It was pretty gross. And washed the car out and got seats out of it, got a lot of the interior pulled down, got the door cards out, and I guess we'll show you some of the stuff that we found. It was pretty hard to film in there. You've got a two-door car and I had a kid coming in from each side, so that footage will kind of speed through a little bit and we'll take a little look at what we found. So glad to have this pretty terrible job done. Alright, so we can see this a little bit better now that it's up on the trailer and we can see what we're working with in here. Dash is actually in pretty good shape. Somebody's already come in and ripped out most of the headliner. Headliner bows are missing. Back seat's all pretty much ratted out as at the front. Used up fire extinguisher, so that's pretty cool. We're not. And we got back and I was actually looking through and I flipped the seat up because I was trying to get to that intake, and I looked down in this crack. Lo and behold, here's the keys for the car. So that was a bonus. And there's a radiator on that side, a valve cover, intake, engine mount that I found so far through the mouse nest, and in the trunk, I don't know if you can see it, but there's actually a radiator hiding in there. I have tried to get the trunk to open. The key will go in and turn to an extent, but the latch must be rusted down, so that'll be a good one for another day.
And that's the clean through.
And I've got a kid all excited to get in with all the rat poop and hantavirus. So I don't know how much of this we'll be able to really film because there isn't a lot of room getting in here, but we'll try to do the best we can to document this. So when we were pulling out of the alley that this car was in, I managed to do a little damage to my trailer. I backed in there just fine, but I must have come out an inch one way or the other, or just a little bit of tongue weight that was on. So that'll be another great one to fix, try to straighten him out. But we got to get the car cleaned out, get the seat out of it, and get it off the trailer, and then we'll start working on fixing the trailer.
Unsanitary, and we need to get all of this gone. Hey, go ahead, I found you a toy. No! Yeah.
So we managed to get the seat out, which was quite the struggle in order to try to get into the back side of all the bolts and behind everything. So now we can continue. This gives you kind of a good look at the chewy floorboard. And no, I'm likely not going to just put floor pans in it. It's going to get a sheet of galvanized over it. So a little bit more to go and get the rest of the stank out. So we got the back seat out, and I had my daughter squeeze it through here and ended up taking the 2 bolts out because the latch is absolutely rusted, but we got in the trunk and now we're discovering all kinds of treasures. Rusted out steel coffee can, that's good. Another cover. our little camping chair, another radiator, a whole pile of license plates. Looks like 71, 72. Alright, I guess you guys should meet Tank, and that way if you hear something huffing in the background, it's just my old dog. Pretty good shop dog. A little bit hairy, but he likes to follow us around out here, so you might hear huffing and puffing and everything else, and this is the guy right here. So anyway, we decided to bring you out here and show you the seats that we got out of the car. I lost the video clips following the last thing that you guys just saw, so we were just talking about seats. So these are the seats that came out of the car once we finally got them all out. You've got the back of the rear seat, the bottom, because they are, I'm sure a lot of you know, but they are a two-piece seat. Some point when we go to putting them back in, I'll probably show you guys how to hang them on the clips and get them put in. It can be a little bit of a struggle. Fairly simple though, but maybe some people don't know how they come out. That might help somebody at a future time when they're trying to disassemble their car. Front seat, I was able to find all of the headliner bows. They were all down in the mouse crap and whatnot, so that's a good thing if a day ever comes that this car gets a headliner. But on the current budget to get it running, it's not a huge concern, but always good to have those. You can purchase them, but there's literally nothing wrong with them, so why wouldn't you want to keep them? Getting the front seat out was probably the most trying situation. So ideally on these cars, what you want to do is take off this bottom panel, and because your seat bolts are right down underneath the front in here. Hopefully the camera will focus on that, but you take the screw out, there's one in the front, one in the rear, and the biggest thing you have to do is be able to take the adjuster off. Well, with as corroded as it is, I was going to have to use some form of heat, more than likely, to get it off, and or drilling. And with the amount of mouse nest on the floor, I just wasn't willing to bring sparks into the equation or heat of any sort. So I struggled for probably 2 hours, did finally get the bolts from those inside feet. And the rears, you can see, aren't terrible to get to and open and wrench. Got those taken out. This being a two-door car, one thing that is different than a four-door is these seats will tip forward on each side, and that's for access, of course, into the rear seat, right? Standard four-door car, both sides come forward at one time. I would really I like the original seats a lot in these. I'd like to get them recovered, but I talked to the upholstery shop in town here, and he quoted me $6,000 to do these three pieces. And I understand there's a skill and it's a craft. I also have fairly low expectations for these seats, but that just sounds a little absurd. I've heard that National Chevy Association has foam and seat cover kits available. I haven't done a lot of research into it yet. Might be a thing, but for the time being, I think we're going to focus on getting the car on the road. I have the 79, I think it's a 79, 78, something like that, late 70s G-body Malibu, and it's a two-door, so the seats actually flip. And so what I'll probably do is just throw those bucket seats in there quick, just to get this thing going. I guess it's going to be myself and one of the kids, or myself and the wife at the beginning, but we'll eventually hopefully get a full complement of seats in this thing, because we have some plans that we'd like to go do in the future, and it just kind of depends on what we can get going. So this is the seat situation, and they're in pretty good shape overall. I did find one broken spring. Let's see if I can get up into frame here. Oh, where is it? I guess that one just slipped out of the holder. Here it is, down here at the bottom. If you can see this. This one spring is broken. And that is actually, two of them are. But what you can do is bend those over and actually just hog ring them, kind of like they use these sleeves up here. You'll a lot of times find a couple broken springs in the backs of these, and this actually has a spring that runs downward towards the rear set, and these are just a connector. So little few things, but the frames aren't broke, they aren't bent. Overall, they're in really good shape. But yeah, here's the seats. This is what they ended up like, and it's always my least favorite thing is the clean out of these cars. They're just nasty. So I'm gonna leave these out here, let them air out. At some point we'll focus on these, but I just want to get the car going. I don't know if I said this before or not, but I've watched so many of these projects where people dream big and they want to spend thousands of dollars on just the seats on some old bomb. You can always do that later. Get the car going. I guarantee you it'll keep the passion going with the car, and you'll keep moving forward in your project. This is why you find so many stalled projects where somebody's gotten them torn down and then nothing happens with them, because they're focused on the $6,000 that the guy told me it was going to be for these seats, or however much it costs to recover them. Well, I got a car that I got for free that's got a pair of bucket seats in it. For now, that'll get it on the road, and I think that's a better way to be. Just get the car running, get out there and enjoy it. There isn't hardly a hot rod in the world that hasn't come back in the shop and been rebuilt, something changed. So get the stuff in it, get the car driving. If nothing else, it'll be easier to get it in and out of the garage in case you need that garage space. So the inside of the car, now this is where big changes were made. So number one, it showed me exactly how bad the rot is in the floor. So of course up in the kick panel, floor supports, there's already somebody's patch job from probably 1959 in here. So this car came out of Minnesota, as I found out, and so you can kind of imagine what we're dealing with rust. I think I said in one of the video clips that I was just gonna screw some galvanized steel down to the floor and cover the holes, kind of like what these guys did back in the day. But honestly, I feel like it's pretty well detached from here all the way around. So I'll probably weld in some 18 gauge steel. And same thing over on that side. Big rust hole, a little bit better along the rockers, but there is a patch right over there, if you can see it. And the trunk is pretty chewed up also. But we got it pretty well cleaned out. Unfortunately, I think it's going to take another blast. My daughter's been in here scraping the old asphalt sound deadening off the ceiling. We got just about all the windows working, so we now can roll down the front windows. These got the cool crank out wing windows. So we got we got the driver's side front window moving, the wing window, both of these rear quarter windows are moving and ready to go. I also took an SOS pad and I scrubbed on the windows with it, which honestly that fine stainless steel does not scratch windows. I know some people think it does, but it really doesn't. So here's a good look at the dashboard. Original Power Glide car, which you can see the old Power Glide right in there. So I scrubbed on the dash and I did rinse this out in here. It smells much better. The only window that I don't have working is I could not get that passenger window to go down, and there is one heck of a mouse nest stuck. Let's go around there. All right, as I was saying, there is one gnarly mouse nest still up inside here. I'm probably going to have to take that window regulator out of the car, most likely. I haven't checked it in a few days. It's not the window stuck in the gasket, it's actually the regulator itself is rusted. So I'm probably going to have to pull the regulator out of the door. When I do that, I'll pull the mechanism out and get the rest of that freed up. Minimal holes in the bottom of the doors, actually really none. So just the floor pans and along the rockers are probably the worst part of what's in here. So dash looks nice, windows are good and clean and clear. We got all the door handles working. Starting to get there. That clean out, again, worst part of the whole thing. All right, and I believe this here is the one that was in the trunk, because I think I grabbed the hose to move it. Definitely packed full of mouse house. Most concerning thing is everywhere I look on it, I don't know if we can see in there, if the sunlight's gonna work with me, but there is actually a crack right there at my finger. Quite a few cracks in these tanks. So I don't know if my radiator guy will want to mess with it. And to tell you the truth, the back seat one actually looks like it's in a heck of a lot better shape. No, it's full of mouse too. A little corrosion concern on the front, but not too bad. And the tanks on this one look like they're in much better shape. So I think I'll run both of those up. I'd prefer to have a brass radiator, but I did find, and I'm probably gonna, if I do this, I'll more likely kick myself in the butt, but I did find a aluminum radiator with a fan for $144 on eBay. So first I'm gonna have my radiator guy look at these and see what he thinks. There's still one old guy in this area that'll pull the tanks off, clean the cores, do all the things, and see what he thinks. See if he can make one of the two of them or where we are. And both of these I noticed, I believe that is a date stamp. So that would be 1953, and E for the month. So E would be what month, Grace? May. So 5th letter, 5th month. And then there was also a 53 D.
April.
So an April radiator. Not sure why they had two. Obviously one of them must have started leaking and they went on to the other or some reason. But anyhow, that was the last of the haul that came from inside the car. So